Hi everybody. So this is chapter 18. The question that the authors pose are regarding binge drinking, um, but really the focus is going to be on the digestive and urinary system. And our learning outcomes are going to be to explain the function of the digestive system as a function of each organ, um, the structures of the excretory system and their function, and then the effects of drinking alcohol on these systems. So let's talk about the digestive system. The digestive system breaks down food and uses the energy or to be used for energy by the body. So the digestive tract is called the alimentary canal. That allows our food to be exposed to actions such as chewing and mooshing around in our stomach and secretions such as stomach acids and digestive secretions in our intestines in order to break down the food into individual molecules that can be absorbed by the body. So, starting with digestion is when you chew. Chewing happens, that's going to be mechanical. Our teeth are grinding things down and we're mooshing things around with our tongue. We're also adding digestive enzymes, salivary enzymes from our spit to start to break down the food. And from your reading, do you remember which organ does the majority of digestion of all of the canal? Maybe the small intestines. The small intestines are the most important. So they do start in the mouth, and I mentioned the salivary glands. Then the food ends up in the stomach, and the stomach is going to have more mooshing. Our stomach actually has some mechanical function, but most importantly, there are digestive enzymes, and there are also acids, things that are going to break down sugars and proteins into smaller molecules. Then, when the food enters the small intestines also have enzymes, and we also have a biofilm of bacteria, each with their own complement of enzymes, all working to break down that food into individual molecules. There are important organs that are also involved in digestion. We learned in the last chapter that the liver is important because it produces bile to help dissolve fats. There's also pancreatic secretions. Those things are going to now neutralize the stomach acids, but also enzymes to help break down the food further. And the gallbladder is going to be storing um, the bile and releasing it into the small intestines. So, what happens when we drink alcohol? Alcohol is, and specifically it's ethanol or ethyl alcohol that's in beer, wine, mead, liquor. This alcohol is going to relax the muscles for peristalsis. So, peristalsis is this like slow pumping action that moves the food down along our digestive tract. And the food is going to end up spending more time in that tract, and it's going to end up being exposed to even more enzymes than it normally would, which is going to loosen the food and end up with very loose stool or diarrhea. If we had food in our stomach, that's going to slow the rate of alcohol absorption into the small intestines. It's going to get there eventually, it just does it slower if there's food there. Liver, remember the main job of liver is to metabolize toxins, including alcohol. So lots of drinking is going to end up with scar tissue on our liver, and that's called cirrhosis. What happens when we end up with scar tissue, the blood doesn't pass through our liver properly to clean the rest of the toxins through our blood. You can also have pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. Remember, the pancreas is secreting digestive enzymes, and so if if we back all that up with alcohol, we can end up causing inflammation of our pancreas. So in the small intestines, that's where that peristalsis is happening. That's where most of the food is now broken down into individual molecules, which can be brought across the cell membrane, and it can start to enter the blood. This is where, when you say you have a candy bar and your blood sugar goes up, this is the point at which the sugar from your food enters the bloodstream a little bit. And that's because we have these, so this is the small intestine, this is a cross section, the side of the intestine, and it's got all these little ridges to increase surface area so that there's more surface of the edge of the small intestine exposed. Those are called microvilli. Um, and the microvilli are knitted together with our capillaries, and this is where they interact with one another to put food or nutrients from food into the bloodstream. What regulates these digestive secretions? Hormones. Also, our stomach produces something called gastrin, which stimulates the production of gastric juices, so enzymes and acids that break things down. And then our small intestines also release some other things, and to a lesser degree, the pancreas and the gallbladder do as well. So I mentioned in the last chapter kidneys and how kidneys remove toxins from the body as well as liver. So let's take a look at the urinary system. The urinary system is composed of the kidneys, the ureters, which are what connects the kidneys to the bladder, and then the urethra. Then the urethra is the portal out of the body. So kidneys are going to filter and clean our blood. We have two of them, one on each side, and blood goes into the kidney, and it gets filtered in these nephrons or looped tubules, and then after it's been filtered, it flows back out. So let's look just a little bit closer at the nephrons. They're actually folded so many times. It is incredibly long, 85 miles in just one kidney. And so what it does is oh, excuse me. Oh, well, I guess it's only 1 o'clock, so I'll go back to sharing. Sorry, that's my cuckoo clock. So it processes the waste in four ways. It actually filters out of the nephron and then is reabsorbed, secreted, and excreted. It uses diffusion, diffusion and capillary action to do those things. And so what happens when we are drinking ethanol? Ethanol is what's called a diuretic, which means that it makes us have to pee more, promotes the formation of urine, and it increases the volume because it's a toxin. And so what we're trying to do is create lots of water to carry that toxin out faster and quicker. Faster and quicker are the same thing. Faster and in a less concentrated form, so it's less toxic by diluting it. It's also a depressant. It's a mood depressant, but it's also a physical depressant, meaning it slows down your brain function, altering perceptions, reflexes, balance. And so, this book was written by two white women in their 40s, I want to say, maybe 50s, and they were writing it with the slant towards traditional campus college students. And binge drinking is kind of a big deal on a lot of college campuses, in places like sororities and fraternities, or at least it has been considered in the past as, I don't want to say tradition, but common. And so the when they're talking about energy drinks, it's because a lot of times people who are doing these kind of massive drinking events might be drinking an energy drink because they think it counteracts. It doesn't necessarily counteract the intoxicating effects of alcohol, it just masks it so that we don't see it as much. So you're still, your brain function still isn't slow, or still slow, and your perception's messed up, but you don't know it because you're drinking an energy drink. Um, there's also some issues with alcohol acting on our pituitary gland. This is another gland that secretes hormones, and um, it reduces the anti-diuretic. So alcohol is a diuretic, and then it reduces the hormone that is anti to that. So it means that we're making even more urine. So well, I mentioned all that stuff, and I'm not going to read a table to you. Let's try this. What strategy is maybe safer way if you're going to drink alcohol? So it can't be avoid eating, because we learned that having food in your stomach actually slows the absorption. 4 or fewer drinks in an hour. Um, that's a lot. 4 drinks in an hour is a lot. That's one every 15 minutes. And drinks, depending on what it is. Are you drinking beer or shots of liquor? Because the content of ethanol is different in each of those. Alternating drinking with water, yes, that's a good one. Delaying, oh, never delay medical care. So it has to be C. What organ filters and cleanses the blood by creating urine? So we know the liver filters, but it's the kidney. It's the kidney that filters the blood. And do you remember this? Because alcohol affects ADH, the anti-diuretic hormone. You may urinate at a greater volume when you drink. Yes, and that's good. It's good because you got to get the toxins out. Okay, so here are our 3 learning outcomes. And sorry about my um, cuckoo clock and my technical difficulties, but I hope that you can answer those things now.